In Germany during First World War in 1917, amidst a field strewn with dead bodies, German soldiers rushed through the trenches, getting ready for their next attack. Among them is Heinrich Gerber, a young soldier, feeling scared and unsure about what to do next. Despite his fear, he bravely charges forward, stabbing an enemy soldier before meeting his own death. Afterwards, the bodies of the soldiers are collected, their tags are removed, and their uniforms are cleaned for other soldiers to wear in the future. It's the third year of the war, and 17-year-old Paul Baumer decides to join his friends Albert Kropp, Franz Müller, and Ludwig Behm in enlisting in the German army. Along with their classmates, they listen to an inspiring speech from their principal, urging them to fight for their country and become heroes. They get their uniforms and guns, and Paul ends up with Heinrich's old uniform. The men are taken to Paris, where they find many others already injured at the base. When the French soldiers launch a gas attack, everyone has to quickly put on masks. They make it to the trenches, where Paul meets Stanislaus Kaczynski and Jaden Stackfleet. That evening, they all stay in the trenches, with Paul and Albert standing guard. A bullet hits Paul's helmet, but luckily doesn't hurt him. Soon after, the French start shooting at the Germans, forcing them to take cover in a bunker. The attacks intensify, and the bunker starts collapsing, trapping and killing some soldiers under the rubble. By morning, Paul is rescued from the collapsed bunker. He assists in retrieving tags from the fallen soldiers, and during this grim task, he discovers Ludwig's body. Ludwig is missing an eye and a leg. This sight overwhelms Paul with grief, and he takes a moment to mourn his friend, shedding tears for his loss. 18 months later, German official Matthias Erzberger meets with the Supreme Army Command to discuss the heavy losses suffered by soldiers in the past year. The group convenes to negotiate an armistice with the Allied powers. In Champagne, Franz, Paul, and Kat sneak into a farm and manage to steal a goose. They pull it off just in time before the farmer comes out and starts shooting at them. Back at their camp, they share the goose with Albert, Franz, and Jaden. They cook it up and enjoy a meal together, singing a cheerful song. Later on, they spot a group of French women passing by, and Franz strikes up a conversation with one of them, eventually going off with her. When he returns to camp, he brings back the woman's scarf, and the men take turns smelling it, enjoying the moment of connection with the outside world. Later on, the men receive letters from their loved ones. Kat, who can't read, asks Paul to read a letter from his wife. As Paul reads, he discovers that Kat and his wife lost a son. Kat confides in Paul, expressing doubt about his ability to readjust to civilian life once the war is over. Later on, the soldiers set out to find 60 missing recruits. Paul and Albert stumble upon the building where they were hiding, and Kat concludes that they all perished because they removed their gas masks too early. Erzberger takes a train to the forest of Compiègne to discuss a ceasefire with the Allied powers. Erzberger and his team meet with General Ferdinand Foch, who sets a 72-hour deadline for the Germans to agree to the non-negotiable terms for the ceasefire to take effect. In the middle of the night, Paul and his unit are abruptly awakened to prepare for a French attack. As dawn breaks, the attack begins, and the Germans retaliate fiercely against the French. Paul dives into the French trenches, personally engaging in combat and taking down some enemy soldiers. They retreat to their own trenches as tanks approach. Albert finds himself trapped and tries to surrender, but tragically, he is set on fire and shot. Paul is deeply shaken by the brutality of the battle, and he shares a poignant moment with the French soldier he wounded, who dies in his arms. Paul discovers a photo of the man's wife and son, and in a moment of sorrow and regret, he begs the lifeless body for forgiveness. Erzberger and his team meet with Foch again, but he refuses to make any compromises. Eventually, the Germans relent and sign the ceasefire agreement. The news spreads among the soldiers. Paul and Kat attempt to steal another goose from the farm, but they're caught by the farmer and chased away. As they flee into the woods, they split up, and tragically, Kat is shot and killed by the farmer's son. Paul rushes to get Kat to a hospital, but it's too late. Kat passes away before they arrive. The soldiers gather as Friedrichs addresses them, hoping to end the war on a high note by ordering an attack at 10:45 to inflict maximum damage on the French. Despite their disheartenment, the soldiers are compelled back into battle. Paul joins in, determined to make an impact. In the chaos, he engages in combat, taking down as many enemy soldiers as he can. He finds himself in a trench hole, facing off against a French soldier, only to be unexpectedly attacked from behind by another who fatally wounds him with a bayonet. Moments later, at 11, the war is declared over. Paul manages to step outside before succumbing to his injuries and passing away. The surviving German recruits collect the tags of their fallen comrades. Among them is a recruit whom Paul had previously saved. He discovers Paul's body, clutching the scarf that Franz had received earlier. In this way, movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.